So I know I'm in my car. I just wanted to make a video today about something that I think a lot of us deal with, either with our children or even with just like friends or our spouses. And that's kind of like losing your cool over something that's really not that important, and then kind of really feeling guilty about it and being hard on yourself about it later on. But so that kind of happened to me this morning. I was in the car with my little one, my little guy, my little foster kiddo. He's 6 years old, and he's got this new thing where he has to have a spelling test every Friday. So we get this list of 6 words that he's supposed to work on throughout the week and write sentences with and practice. And he really struggles with his writing and his reading at school, and he's getting like special help now with the special individualized teachers. And he is improving, but it's very frustrating to work with him, just being honest, doing his homework with him, because it feels like things go in one ear and out the other, and he's just not focused, he's not paying attention, he's falling off the chair, and it's just it's a battle like every night. So last night, my husband and I, it was a night where he had a visit with his bio mom too, so he gets home a little bit later, and he's a little bit cranky, and he's tired from a long day, and he's got to finish his homework. We rush him to bed and get him cleaned, and then he's got to study these words because it's Thursday nights before Friday and a spelling test. So he's a little more stressed, and he wants to do well. He doesn't want to do bad on his test because he thinks we're going to be upset with him. So there's a lot of pressures on his poor little kid. So of course, we're working with him last night. We're trying our best to get him to memorize these words, the spelling, and I'm having him write them over and over again. He's still not getting. He can't even read his handwriting, and then I'm having him say them out loud and without looking at the paper. Then I quiz him again. I pretend I'm his teacher. I say, "Hi, I'm Mrs. B. I'm gonna now write the word rain," and he loves that. But then he gets it wrong. So anyway, we were working with him for a really long time. He finally was getting the words right, and he was getting, we're getting really happy. Put him to sleep. Wake up this morning, go to school. I got to drop his baby sister off at daycare, and then drop him off at the early care. And so I made him flashcards so he could practice on the way there. So we were in the car, and I'm driving, and I'm quizzing him, and I say, "Okay, spell the word year," and he's like. And he got it right the night before, after going over it a million times, they're getting it wrong. And he's like, Y-E-A-R-R-E. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, where do you even get that from? Like, that's just so wrong. It's not even close. Then stay, S-T-U. Like, where do you hear you and stay? Like, what are the vowels? And we just made him memorize them the other day, was saying them out of order, and we finally got him to say them in order, A-E-I-O-U. And right back to the word rain, R-A-N. No, there's not, that's ran. Okay, R, I'm like, you're missing a vowel. Remember, the 2 vowels will go together. R-A-N. Oh my gosh, again, so he did that like 3 times, just saying the word ran, spelling the word ran like 3 different ways with like a different enthusiasm, thinking that would make it right or something. So frustrated. So then he spelled one word, he added a T at the end, and there was no T in the word at all. And I was like, where do you get the letter T in that word? You hear ta? And I'm just screaming and screaming. And then he's looking at me, and looking in the mirror, he's looking at me with wide eyes like, psycho, like, why are you screaming? And he got really scared, kind of, a little bit, and then he got quiet, and then he tried harder. But I think the scaring does help him. Like, my husband calls it like the gun to the head method, like where when I do get a little crazy, sometimes it like really makes him like focus more, and then he gets it all right. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this, like, it. So I do feel like sometimes my craziness and my like harshness like just makes him more focused and like really paying attention to what he's doing, rather than just like da 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 T-Q-A-Y. So but at the same time, I know I shouldn't be yelling like that at him and overreacting over, because when I dropped him off, I smoothed things over before he went in, and so he's not like scared and afraid to take this test. But I feel like we can't always be overreacting. Like, okay, it was a spelling test, it's a spelling test, it's sight words, and going crazy over sight words and screaming at him. If he fails it, it's not that big a deal. We could practice at home. We can, he's only 6. He's going to learn his words eventually. And then, then you think like, okay, I have all these scriptures all over my refrigerator, listen before speaking, and sweet words are like honeycomb, and be patient, and you're like, okay, I understand these words, I understand these scriptures. It's just in the heat of the moment, sometimes it's hard to apply them to your situation. But then I realized, you know what? We're all human. Parents are not perfect. Jesus never said we had to be perfect. He loves us. And I think it's important to like just let our children know that, we do make mistakes, and like maybe just apologize and say, I shouldn't have been yelling like that. It really wasn't a big deal. And maybe add some little humor to make them feel better. During the day, I felt a little like a bully. And then I realized I didn't really need to overreact like that. And I was like, even getting like my blood pressure was like raising like crazy, and that's not even good for your own soul, and then you feel guilty and you feel like a bad person, a bad mom. But I know we've all been through that. Even like not even with children. It's like that could be with your spouse, or even like with friends, like overreacting, and just like, I think there are things in our flesh that we need to work out sometimes, and that's okay. But I think the best thing is to always go back to that person and to apologize, or just to say explain maybe why you reacted like that. Especially with children, I think they're really understanding a lot, and I think it's really important for us to show our humility and let them know that we make mistakes too, and that it's okay, and that as long as you repent or apologize and you turn and you really do your best not to be the person that you don't want to be. You want to be that person that person can trust and love and go to when they need you. But it's important though to also not always be perfect. I think to show that you are able and capable of making mistakes too, and that God is always working on us. The Spirit that lives inside of us is always sanctifying us and changing us and growing us to be more like Jesus every day. And that's with children too. Children they're a blank slate, they're canvases, and they can be messy and raw and dripping with the wrong things, but Jesus cleans them up as they grow up, and it's our job as parents too to help them, guide them in the right direction, direct their paths, and show them a good example too. So I am going to work on my explosiveness and be more gentle and patient and loving, all those fruits of the Spirit that we preach to ourselves and to others, and we study and meditate on. I think that's what will ultimately change us from the inside out and transform us into the image that God created us to be. So if you're going through that, or if you ever felt guilty for yelling at a child, or even like your teenager, I have an older child. My daughter's 21, and there's been plenty of times that I have lost it and like thrown her phone, and and I realize that's childish, and but in those moments, sometimes you overreact, and we have to move on. But yeah, write in the comments if you ever experienced anything like that, or if you want to share anything and make us all feel better about ourselves. All right, have a good day, guys. Bye.